Welcome to Lee from Glean. It's all yours.
Fantastic. So I will first off start sharing my screen. Otherwise, you will not be able to see any of this demo. Hopefully, you can see what is going on now. So, like David said there, I am from Glean. If you haven't heard of Glean before, we are a tool that helps anyone who finds note-taking to be a challenge, which a lot of people do. It's very difficult to take notes in live scenarios. If you do not believe me, try and take notes throughout this webinar. You'll find it difficult because it's hard to listen to what someone's saying, look at the things they're showing you on the screen, and take detailed notes at the same time. So that is what our tool aims to help with. And I'm not going to go through and show you any slides or talk about it. I just want to show you it. So Glean can be used anywhere. First of all, you can use it on a Windows, Mac, or Chromebook via your web browser, or you can use it on a mobile device. I'll touch on both of them in this demo. So we're going to start off using this on the Mac, which is what I'm on at the moment via my web browser. So as you can see here, I'm logged into my Glean account. And we're going to show you the main way in which people use this, which would be to help them take notes in a class or a meeting or wherever it is you need to take notes. So the first thing you would do is go in and start a new event and give it a name. It's always best to give this a name. So we are going to pretend we are all going to be students in a lecture on time travel. That is our scenario here. So what you do is when the class starts, you go ahead and click this record button and you choose where you want to record the audio from. Because we are studying in a hybrid world now, sometimes you might be face-to-face in a classroom, or you might be studying online like you are now. So if you're face-to-face, you choose the microphone option. If you're online, you would choose one of these screen audio options. I'm in the same room as my computer, obviously, so I'm going to choose the microphone option. So what happens is you start recording, and Glean starts to capture everything that's been said. Now, the benefit of recording everything that is being said is that it really frees you up. So you can focus more on listening and paying attention because you know that you're going to have this recording there that you can now go back through after the class is finished. So you can go back to the things that you maybe didn't understand, the important points, and you can flesh your notes out in your own time afterwards. But if you just record and do nothing else, then all you're going to end up with is one big long audio file that's really hard to navigate. And most of the time, you don't want to listen back to everything. You just want to go back to the specific moments that were relevant. So what we do with Glean is allow you to take notes alongside that audio recording. And it's very simple to do. I'm going to show you a few simple ways to do this. So first of all, if you want to take a text note, all you need to do is start typing. So let's say the speaker says something really important. You might just start typing a few keywords. So maybe you start typing key point and then just press enter. So what happens is every time you add a note, it adds it to your notes feed here on the left-hand side. And it does two things. It timestamps it so you can see 1 minute and 2 seconds, but also visually, it links this moment. So you see a little bullet point next to it, next to the bullet point in your timeline. So it's a direct link between your note and your audio. And what this allows you to do is to tag the things you want to go back to, but really quickly. You don't have to do detailed notes. The detailed part can come afterwards. So this can be as simple as typing and pressing enter, typing and pressing enter, just like creating a bullet point list. And you can do it as simply as that. But there are a few other things that you can do as well, which you might find useful. If you don't like typing or you find that to be a challenge in the class, you can use these labels instead. So let's say you hear something, you think that's important, I want to listen back to that. Just click and hold the important label. It does the same thing, as you can see. It adds it to a note, timestamps it, links it to your audio, only this time you didn't have to write anything. I use that technique quite often. You can combine those two approaches as well, though. If you want, you can use text and labels. It's entirely up to you how you like to work. So maybe someone's telling me about a question that's on an exam and I type exam. And then I decide, well, I definitely need to review that later. So I also give that text note a label. Like I say, there's no set way to do this. Text, label, or a combination of the two. Now, One of the labels that's a little bit different from the rest, which I use quite frequently, is this one here. The heading label is great if you are going through different topics in class. When I'm using this in meetings, I do this when we're going through different agenda points in a meeting. And it's great because it allows you to put a heading in your notes, and it also puts a heading in the audio as well. So it works in the same way as the other labels. Just click and hold for a second, and it pops your note in there. And as you can see, does it in your audio as well. So it's a great way of breaking things up into more manageable sections. Now, another thing that you can do with Glean whilst you're recording, though, is if you're using this in a class where there are presentation slides, for example, you can incorporate those slides within your notes because the visuals alongside the audio can be useful. So you can bring your slides in whenever you want. You could bring it in before you start recording, during, or afterwards. I'm just going to start bringing them in now by going and clicking on my event options button and then importing some slides. Now, you're not always going to have slides available, of course, but if you do, it's useful to be able to bring them in to Glean, because then once they're in here, you can then add them to your notes, just like we've been doing before. And this is dead straightforward to do. So let's say you want to add this slide into your notes. You just go ahead and click on that slide. What it does is it adds it into here as before. It adds it like it's a heading. And then you just go and continue taking notes as you do before. Honestly, you can pick this technique up really easily. And you can be selective over which of these slides you include in your notes as well. So you can either just go ahead and post the next slide if you're doing this in a more linear fashion. But let's say you just don't want the next few slides, or maybe the teacher skips ahead. Well, you can just use these forward and back arrows and just go straight to the slides that you actually want to include in your notes. And one of my favorite little tools about slides, if you are using them, is that if you have a slide here which has got lots of text on it, quite often that text can help form the basis of your own notes. So one thing you can do is hover over one of these slides you've added, click this little icon here, and it will strip all of the text out of that slide and pop it into your notes for you. It's nice and straightforward. And honestly, that's all you really need to know about the key functions of using Glean live in the moment. Now, I've been doing this on my laptop, but I also want to quickly show you what this looks like on the mobile device. So if you look on the right-hand side here, this is literally just my iPhone that I'm projecting to the screen. Now, I'm not going to go through and do everything that I just did there. I just want you to see how it looks on here, because sometimes you're not going to have your computer with you. So I'm just going to start off a very quick recording like we did before. It looks a little bit different on here, so you don't get those little audio bars, the timeline, but all of the functions are the same. So you can go in here and add text notes like I've just done before. You can use the labeling system. You can bring slides in here. You can bring headings in here. It works the same. The only difference, actually, if you're doing this on your mobile device, is that you can utilize the camera on your phone to take pictures of things. So this is great if you needed to snap a picture of a slide or a whiteboard or whatever it might be. Now, I've got a leaflet in front of me. I'm just going to snap a picture of that. I apologize for the rather dark lighting in my room. It's currently 8:15 over here in the UK. So you take a picture and it pops it into your notes. So it doesn't matter which device you use, laptop or mobile phone, you can utilize this strategy. Now, what you do next is what you do afterwards, I guess. What do you do after you've came out of class? Because you've got all of the recording, you've got your slides, you've got these annotations you've made. Now it's time to write your notes up in more detail. And you can do that because of the technique I've been showing you. So let's say, for example, let me open up this file here. This is a demo file. It's got a little bit more information in here. We'll pop this in full screen as well, so we can just focus on the computer for now. So the idea would be is that we now go back and write these notes up, but we don't have to listen back to everything. We can go and specify the parts we want to listen back to. So, for example, maybe I'm going through my brief notes and I decide, right, an assignment was mentioned here. I want to listen back to this. Great. Well, what do? You just hover over it and then click the play button. So I'll just click play now so you can hear this.
For your first assignment on this course, you'll be asked to analyse the extent to which sci-fi movies obey the scientific rules of time travel. There'll be more information on that at the end of today's lecture.
You can speed your audio up. You can slow it down if you want. We've got lots of audio cleanup tools as well to improve the clarity. if you need to. But the important thing is that you're doing this afterwards now. So you can listen back to this as many times as you need and then go and edit your brief note and add in the details. So this might be analyze the scientific, etc., etc. I'm sure you get the drift of what I'm doing there. So you're really filling in the gaps and embellishing on the brief notes you made live in the moment. Now, I just played the audio back there, but what you might have noticed is that you have a toggle up here where you can switch between an audio and a transcript, because you can transcribe all of your audio as well. And I'm just going to toggle over to the transcript view. And I'm not going to go and do the same thing again. I'm going to pick a different one this time, though. We'll not play back the same audio. We're going to go and play back something that I'm interested in, this note here. So I made a note about ISS, and I want to know why. So we're going to play this back again, and just look how it plays the transcript. It highlights the sentence, it highlights the word during playback.
The International Space Station orbits the Earth at over 17,000 miles an hour, and so time passes slower for the astronauts on board than for those of us back on Earth.
So really, it's an option. It's entirely up to you. You can either listen, or you can listen and have access to the transcript. A couple of cool things to show you, though. Now that you've got the transcript, there's a few extra things you could do. So, for example, note taking is usually best if you write things up in your own words, but sometimes you just want to grab what someone said and then maybe tweak it a little bit. So let's say you just wanted to do that with this paragraph here. Well, what you can do in Glean is highlight it, post it over into your notes, and then it pops it in here for you. And then you can edit it, you can add to it, you can reword it, do whatever you want. So you can utilize the transcript like that if you need to. A couple of other cool tools, though, I like to show you, not essential features, but I think they're really useful to know. As we have a few other things you can do to help you elaborate on your notes a little bit more. So let's say you've got no idea what the ISS is and you want to find out quickly. What we're going to do is add a little note underneath here, a little sub note, if you will. And then click this icon here, because this is our definition tool. It allows me to type something in, so in this example, ISS, and then grab a definition of it quickly from Wikipedia. And it also gives you the little snippet from Wikipedia, but you can click on that link and it will take you to the actual page as well. So this is quite useful to get just information on anything that you need very quickly. And also, if you want to start adding images into this, we've got an integrated image tool as well. Same principle as before, add a note, only this time you click this little icon here, and you can search for an image that you want. You don't have to leave Glean to do this. Search directly within here, and then it'll bring up lots of potential images to use. If you want to grab one of them, add them to your notes, just click on it, it will grab it and pop it straight in there for you. So it just helps to make your notes a little bit richer. Now, once you've been through this entire process, what you'll have done is converted your simple audio recording into something that maybe looks a little bit more like this file here. So this is a demo event with everything in. Now, you can just keep it in here and review it whenever you want. Or if you want to get it out of Glean, you can do. We also have a simplified reading view as well. So if you click this icon, it will then show all your notes in a more linear fashion. And then what you can also do is print them if you want, or you can copy them to your clipboard and then paste them into a blank Word document or a Google document or wherever you want to have them. You don't have to do this, it's obviously optional, but you could go and paste them in here. And they are all the key functions of using Glean. There's nothing complicated about it. And to prove that and to encourage you to give this a go yourself, I would ask you and encourage you to go and visit this webpage. I will put a link to this in the chat in a minute or two, because we're quite happy to set you up with a free evaluator account. Because I often think with this type of technology, you can sit and listen to me and see me demonstrate it, but getting your hands on it yourself and giving it a go is often the best way. And this was just a quick introduction to this. If you do want to know a little bit more detail about how all of this works, I'll also provide a link to our webinars page, so you can go and have a bit more of a deep dive into the different functionalities we've got in it as well. I'll pop all of those links into the chat in a minute or two, though. And that is me done, David.